Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montevilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Pfaff Ambition 620. In this video, I'm going to show you the settings menu, how to set your machine to get it just the way you want it to be. Okay, so right here we have these little tabs, and you can get into different things. Here's the settings, but this is lettering and this is stitch combinations. Right here is regular sewing. So when you see these little arrows here, that means that's what you're in. So if I page over to here, now I can do sequencing here, I can do lettering, and here's settings. But these little tabs are in a loop. So really, if I wanted to get settings, I'd only have to push the left-hand arrow and I'm right into settings. One button push. Right here, you can see those little arrows there. We can't change anything until those arrows are out of there. So we do the up button right there, and it gives us thread tension as our first option. So this is where you would change your thread tension. If you wanted to adjust it to make it tighter or looser, you would change it right here. Now, when you choose a stitch up here, say for instance buttonholes or applique, it will change the thread tension for you for that stitch to make it so it's maybe a little more satiny looking at the top and you don't see any of your bobbin thread. It'll automatically change it according to the stitch that you choose. But for overall global, like if for instance you're using a really thick thread, you may want to loosen your thread tension. Or if you're doing bobbin work, which means you have a thicker thread in the bobbin and finer thread at the top, then you want to change your tension to make it maybe a little tighter that way. So that's what thread tension is. And you would change that using these arrows right here. And anytime you see white letters or white numbers on a black background, that means it's not in default. So I'm going to put it right back there to default. Now, twin needle. That means if you're sewing twin needle, I showed you that earlier, but it kind of looks like this. So this is a way of doing decorative stitches where you'd use a twin needle. Now twin needle looks like this, but there are different widths of twin needle. So you can have ones that are fairly even wider apart than this or even closer together than this. It gives you an option. So if you push OK here, you can make that. Right now it says 1.6. We can make it pretty wide, up to 6 millimeters from needle to needle. What that does is it prevents you from making a stitch that's too wide where one or the other needle might hit the presser foot or the needle plate. That's what that's for. So I can make this really small. Here, I'm going to use this one right here. And back down to 1.6. That's 1.6 millimeter from one needle to the next. That's what that's for. Notice when I have twin needle selected, this one down here, the stitch with safety, is you can't do anything with that. That means that, I'm going to take this off of here. Stitch with safety, if I have that on, I can't use a twin needle. Stitch with safety means if I have a foot like this that has just a single hole, or if I'm using a needle plate, you'd have to purchase it separately, but some people want to use a needle plate that has just a single hole in the center rather than a wide hole for zigzag. Then you'd push this here, and that's going to prevent you from accidentally typing in a zigzag or a buttonhole or something like that. It will not allow that needle to go side to side. That's stitch with safety. But it also makes it impossible for you to use a twin needle for obvious reasons. That twin needle does not go down in a single hole. So let's keep those two off. They're those two settings are mutually exclusive. Down here, you can change the language of your machine to whatever language you want. I like English, I'm going to go with that. The audible alarm is that little beep beep that you hear. That, you can turn that off if you want it to be quiet. But I like to have it on because it lets me know I made a button push. Let's go down here. The contrast, now that has to do with the screen. So maybe you want it a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on your viewing preferences. And it might have to do with whether you're sitting in front of a nice bright window or you're sewing at nighttime. So I like to have mine right around 1 here. Okay, Okay, let's go down here. Software version, it just tells you what the software, kind of it's more of a maintenance thing for the guys that do maintenance on the machine, but that's the software version right there. Now if I push one more down, it gets down to the tab area. And then we can go back to regular settings or regular sewing by just pushing the right arrow, and that gets right back into there. Remember what I said at the beginning, these little tabs are kind of in a loop, so you can just push to the right, one button push to get back to the beginning. So that's your basic settings on your sewing machine. If this has been a helpful video, give us a thumbs up. And if you have comments or questions, you can leave those in the area down below. We have lots of other videos on our Montevilla Sewing Center YouTube channel, so stay tuned, keep watching. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.